Just have that one hair that just likes to stick out. Always like that. Hey guys, we are going to be talking all about the new Anastasia Beverly Hills Prism palette that just released. Want to do a full-on rundown about this palette, let you guys know my thoughts on it, and whether or not I think you guys should shell out the money for this palette that she just recently launched for her holiday collection. But before we get jumping into this video, make sure to subscribe down below before we get into it, and let's talk about this. The palette does retail for $42. It is a limited edition. I did order mine through the Anastasia Beverly Hills website because I know that it launched there first, but I do know that you can purchase it through various websites. I know Ulta, Sephora, Beautylish, Macy's, and Dillard's, I believe, are the 5 people that do carry on besides her website. And it is limited edition, so it is going to be a palette that if you were wanting to get it, you're going to want to get your hands on it pretty quickly because it was supposed to be launching for her holiday collection. This was a part of some of her other holiday kits that had launched, but I was really quick to order this, so I completely forgot about the rest of her kit because I wanted to make sure that I got the palette. Let's talk about the packaging. This is the box that it comes in. It is a complete matte box, and then it's got that gold foiled look to it, and has a prism right here, and then it says Prism, and then on the back side it tells you the ingredients that are on it as well as what the inside of the palette looks like. So the actual palette itself does look exactly like the outside of the packaging. It also has that gold foil in it. The actual texture of it is a velvet finish, just like the Modern Renaissance palette. Now, once you open it up, you are going to see all of the shadows in the palette. You are going to get a set of 7 mattes and 7 metallics. It does come with the brush, although mine fell out when I was playing around with it. And what we're going to do now is we're actually going to get into the swatch. I want to show you guys what it looks like swatch, and then after that I'm going to give you pros and cons, and then we're going to dive in and I'm going to let you guys know my thoughts. So let's get into the swatches first. I want to do pros and cons for you guys because I was able to play around with it twice now. I did do this look, and this look is going to be up next, which should be up tomorrow, if not the next day. I do like the variation of colors that is in this palette. I do feel like there is a good amount of colors to play around with it, and I think a lot of people look at this and there's like no uniformity. Like, it's not something that flows like some of the other palettes that she has out there, especially the Modern Renaissance. I feel like a lot of us really compare a lot of her palettes to that because it is, in my opinion, the best palette ever. I absolutely love it. It's one of my top 3 favorite palettes I've ever had, and when I look at this palette, I don't see it. I don't see any sort of easy color schemes for people to play around with. I don't feel like it's a super beginner palette. It's got a really good set of colors that are going to allow for you to really get creative with your artistry, and it's going to let you really kind of see things that normally don't look like they look good together but actually do. Let's talk about the mattes for a second. This color right here called Saturn, which is like this deep orange, really impressed me. It was really intense, and when I went into this palette initially, I had the expectation of being very I wanted to be very light-handed with this palette because the last palette, the Subculture palette, you have to be very light-handed with this palette or it can get really messy really fast. So I was very careful to go in with this palette, and I found that this color particularly was really pigmented, although it blended out really nicely, as well as this chocolate brown. So the only bad part about these shadows, I would say, is that when I was initially playing with it and when I played with it again, Eden was the only one that I had the most trouble with. Now, I was able to build it and I was able to kind of clean it up a little bit, but I do find that that was the only shadow that I had that had the most difficult time kind of really getting nice and evened out. That was the only matte shade that I had issues with. When it comes to the metallics, the only issue I had with the metallics, honestly, was Lucid, which is this one right here. It's kind of this frosty, it looks like a white frosty shade. My lights are going in and out. You guys see that? The winds are really bad here, so my lights and my reception, everything's not very good, but I do find that most of her metallics are really easy to work with, although this one was the only one that gave me issues. It was one of those shadows where I feel like if you wear it alone, it's not going to be as intense as if you have some sort of a base. While I do think it is a really pretty highlight, I do think it's going to be one of those colors that you're going to need to really build up. Otherwise, it's going to fade out pretty fast throughout the day. Last night, I wanted to go through the palette and I wanted to see its comparison to some of the other palettes that I own here. And I will say that it kind of slightly reminds me a little bit of the Subculture palette, only in the fact that I too feel like the Subculture palette is one of those palettes that are kind of all over the place. Like there's not really colors. I mean, they're kind of colors that go together, but I feel like it's just kind of just thrown in there. And I don't know, do you guys see what I'm talking about? Like I feel like it's again, one of those like, almost like a Subculture 2.0. Like they did a lot better with the formula, obviously, in this one, but it's just one of those palettes that's just kind of thrown in together. And not that you can't create really pretty looks, because you can. I've played with this quite a bit, but I would say that I still prefer this palette over the Subculture. So no, the formula is nothing like the Subculture in my opinion. I think that they fixed that, and I think that the formula is good in this palette. I don't think it's modern Renaissance formula either. Now that I've gotten to play with this palette a few times and I've been able to dive into it and see what it is that I like and I don't like about the palette, I will say that as a makeup lover, I obviously was going to purchase it because it is another palette by Anastasia. Now, do I think that it's necessary for you to get? I really don't. I think that if you didn't like the Subculture palette or you were kind of hesitant on it, then I would say maybe skip that one and go with the Prism, because it does have, again, those variation of colors that are all over the place. But I think that applying it using the palette with another palette will come out really, really pretty. If you are looking at it and you are a makeup junkie or you are a collector, then you're probably going to get this palette because it is an Anastasia Beverly Hills palette. But if you don't have the means for it, I don't think it's a palette that you're going to be missing out on. So that there wraps up my review on the new Prism palette. I want to know down below if you guys are planning to get it or if you've already received it and your guys' thoughts so far. Anywho, thank you guys all so much for watching. I hope to see you guys all in my next video. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, before you guys head out, please make sure to subscribe down below. You guys can also follow me on any social media. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, all at StepsBeauty05. I do tend to post there more often, so come over, follow me there, and I will see you guys all in my next video, which will be this look right here. So I will see you guys all later. Bye.